What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Amy Dangerfield. As some of you may or may not know, I was on a live stream with Destiny a couple of months ago, and he asked my opinion on this whole Andrew Tate situation. Back then, I had not delved deep into the matter, but I did vaguely recall something about one of the victims actually retracting their statements.
PBD just did a 4.5-hour glaze session with Andrew Tate.
What do you mean glaze session?
As in, it's all softball questions to give Andrew Tate the opportunity to share his message with the world and how horrendously mistreated he's been and how unfair the Matrix is and how trumped up and bullshit every charge against him is. So, you know, just a standard red pill coverage of Andrew Tate.
Okay.
But you might believe half that stuff, so, you know, who knows?
I don't know too much about it. I mean, he's officially been released, right? Or
no. He's about to
on house
get
arrest.
charged.
Oh.
He's about to be indicted. He's about to have some formal shit come down.
I mean, didn't the girls come out and say that it was like fabricated?
No.
Wasn't there like transcripts of them saying that?
What happened was the police officers felt like there wasn't enough evidence to go through with things, and there were text messages that got leaked of the girls communicating with each other. And what Andrew Tate's defense team tried to make it sound like was that they were making up the whole charges. But the conversation between them, you can go look up the transcripts later, was basically them saying, I don't know if we should tell the police officers that we were drinking or not. Like, is that going to make them not believe us? And when those conversations got leaked, they're like, oh, look, they made it all up. That's not true.
I can never speak on that because I have no idea about like the legal side. I haven't looked at it, so I can't even like pretend to give an opinion on it. Over the period of the last couple of months, I have done a deep dive on this subject, delving into various different components of the case, ranging from the actual victims themselves, the alleged victims, the timeline of events, as well as the broader portrayal of how this whole thing has played out in the media. It's been pretty interesting to consider as well. This video is not about whether I endorse or oppose sex work and its proliferation. I've pretty much made my position on all of that clear in my last video. I'll link it in the description for anybody who hasn't seen it. So just over a month ago, I found myself on the SOSCast, shout out to you guys, where I once again encountered this question. Armed with a more comprehensive understanding, I was able to give a more resolute response that carried a lot more conviction.
I've given my opinion. I think it's a complete sham. I'm saying that he's 100% innocent. Prove me wrong. What are the odds that he actually did something, these heinous charges that he's been accused of? It's the mainstream media hiding their own, basically burying stories of when people on that side of the aisle, what he called establishment, or basically one of their own type of people, when it happens, bury the story. Oh, this guy, male, misogynist, chauvinist, red pill, whatever you want to call him, hype it up, lock him up, throw away the key. Odds that he is completely innocent and this is absolute fabrication of what actually happened. Let's start with the gentleman on this and we'll go to the ladies.
If you look at the articles, they all come out at the same time and they all have the same headline.
Yep.
From very different news outlets, left, right, whatever it is. And I think one thing, and I think Andrew spoke to this, is the law can be subjective. And, you know, it was everything clean around webcam businesses, all that. I'm not going to say that that's the case. But was it human trafficking, all the things that he was alleged of? Hell no.
Amy?
Yeah.
What are the odds that he has actually done the crime?
I believe that he is innocent. I think when people cannot control you, they will try to control the perception of you. And that has been evident many, many times throughout media. You know, we really don't need to look for too many other examples to see that this has happened. I do agree with what you said. For sure, maybe there's some questionable things with the webcam business, but conflating that with real human trafficking is spitting on the faces of the people who actually suffered at the hand of that terrible affliction. You cannot conflate the two.
Well said. Well said.
Very well said.
Yeah. What happened next was interesting. There were a lot of DGGers, the people from Destiny's community, who were directing a lot of criticism my way, calling me a grifter and saying that I had essentially altered my stance. Some of them even took it upon themselves to create a Reddit page solely dedicated to this discourse. So let's go ahead and read this here. Amy's a meat-riding grifter. It really is a shame that all these people that can engage with and have half a brain cell around Destiny just switch it off the second they re-enter their own little circle jerk. Allow me to clarify. I would comprehend such reactions from people if the sequence of events were reversed, if I had got on the SOSCast, and then said what I said on Destiny. Or I would understand if these two events were within a couple of days of each other, maybe the same week. But this appearance was over a month later, which gave me ample time to do my research, due diligence, and get a better understanding of the case itself. When I lack substantial knowledge on a subject, I'm the first one to admit that I cannot give an accurate opinion, which is exactly what I did. I don't know too much about it. I don't know.
That's not true.
I could never speak on that. Yeah, listen, I don't know about any of that. That was
No.
That was then, this was now. So let's talk about exactly what has gone into really forming and morphing my opinion on this subject. So let's start with the charges themselves and the lack of admissible evidence. On December 29th, 2022, Andrew and Tristan Tate found themselves under arrest for accusations, not charges, but accusations of human trafficking, rape, and involvement in an organized criminal group. Following their arrest, they were initially detained for 24 hours, which was then extended to a duration of 30 days. And it's very important to note here that they had still not being officially charged with anything at this point. So in January, an additional 30 days were appended to the duration of their detention, and then again, another 30 days, lasting up until March 31st, where the Tate brothers actually won their appeal. They were able to move from police detention into house arrest.
Hello, Andrew.
Freedom at last.
It seemed almost like a hero's welcome as Andrew Tate returned to his home in Romania. But he wanted to stress he was also relieved and grateful.
I want to give respect, firstly, to the judges who heard us today, because they were very attentive and they listened to us and they let us free. So I have to give absolute respect to them. I have no resentment in my heart for the country of Romania or for anybody else. I just believe in the truth.
Despite being arrested in December, the story actually really begins in April when the authorities, the Romanian authorities, raided the Tate residence looking for a woman named Emma Gabbey, who was supposedly missing and supposedly a victim of their human trafficking operation. Now, it's very important to note here that Emma Gabbey, who was age 23 at the time, had prior involvement in the sex work industry on adult websites, predating her involvement with the Tates, before she even met them. And obviously, opinions surrounding her diverge. There's some people who think that she's a victim, and then there's some people, myself included, who are able to identify a consistent pattern of malicious behavior. So what is that malicious behavior? I have a brief summary here, and all of this can be backed up by legal documents, transcriptions, which I'm going to be linking some of those in the description down below. So she's actually been sued by some of her victims. Legal actions have been initiated against her by individuals like Tyler Hensel and Marshall Fisher, who range a level of allegations. The long and short of it is that she used tactics, deceit, manipulation to financially extort these men out of their money, out of their resources. So again, this all started back in April, and text messages actually surfaced showing the conversation that led to the raid at the Tate residence, where she was texting one of her friends and essentially told them that she was being trafficked and held against her will at the Tate residence. So what was her motive? Well, there's a couple of different theories, but essentially the main one that seems to hold the most credence based off those text messages that surfaced and based off the information that we have as verified by Andrew and Tristan Tate, is that she was hoping to be in a romantic relationship with Tristan, and when she arrived in Romania, somehow the reality did not live up to her expectations. Now, again, no one can say for sure. She's the only one who really knows why she fabricated this story, aside from possibly her accomplice in the matter, a woman called Attila. I think Attila is actually her last name that they're using in context here, but they found text message communications between Gabbey and Attila, hinting at a collaborative effort to actually orchestrate these plans. It was all instigated by Emma Gabbey. However, Attila was complicit in this entire thing, as evidenced by these text messages that came out. Now, what's very interesting is that there are two other individuals who also emerged as potential victims. These two women, identified as Beatrice and Jasmine, presented their view on a Romanian program called The Observer.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive or rude. They've always respected people.
Ai fost amenințată?
No. N-am fost niciodată. Dacă eram amenințată, automat nu mai eram idiotă să stau în casa asta.
First of all, I would like to start by saying that there are no victims in this case. It all started April last year in 2022 when two girls that lived in my home with me locked themselves in their room and claimed to be held their hostage. Now, the other two victims that the police claim to be involved in this case are me and Beatrice. And we have been given 3 statements so far, clearly saying we are not victims and we have never worked with or for Andrew and Tristan Tate in any way, but our statements keep getting thrown away. The police don't care about the truth. They don't listen to neither me nor Beatrice. Instead, they choose to listen to 2 girls that went on a luxurious vacation on the French Riviera a week or 2 after being rescued for whatever they claimed to be. Another fact is that the police threw away the surveillance footage from the house, inside the house and outside the house, because they don't consider it evidence that proves that those girls were able and were going for walks, they were going out of the house with their phones whenever they wanted, wherever they wanted.
This incongruency suggests to me that the prosecution is pursuant to a certain narrative that may not even be in alignment or congruent with the actual victims, alleged victims' stories themselves. Like for me at this point, like I would be done. Again, with no victims, there is no crime. One of these alleged victims has been completely discredited. And again, you can go back and look up the legal proceedings and tell me I'm wrong at that point. But then these other victims are claiming that they're not victims at all. It's an interesting fact that if you were to look up the words human trafficking on the date of Andrew Tate's arrest, December 29th, 2022, the only thing that showed up on the first several pages of search results was Andrew Tate's name, as if all other human trafficking cases just magically ceased to exist. Not only that, but on this exact date, JPMorgan Bank was actually found to be in association and to have financially benefited from the Jeffrey Epstein operation, a proven sex trafficking operation. The failure to provide a comprehensive coverage of other significant cases really raises questions on the selective focus of specific individuals and events. It's going to be hard to find an impartial jury when this narrative has been propagated within the mainstream media. Pretty much everybody knows the name of Andrew Tate, and a huge part of that is the use of the old clips that have resurfaced from over a decade ago, some of them.
So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl.
And these clips are not material, they're not relevant to the case at hand, but they're certainly being used to paint Andrew in a certain light within the court of public opinion. And this was backed up to some degree by a little social experiment that I conducted today. Have you ever heard of someone called Andrew Tate?
I haven't heard much about him, but from what I've heard, I don't agree with what he says.
Okay.
Yeah.
He'll say stuff like about women that I'm just like, I don't like how he says it.
Most of the stuff he says is to get a reaction.
I've heard some stuff that have not been great at all. Some trafficking, misogyny, there's a lot.
But again, you said that you haven't watched any of his long-form videos. This is only based off the mainstream narrative?
Yeah.
What do you think is his most controversial take that you've heard at least or seen through the grapevine?
Whoa, I actually can't think of one right now.
Could you give me one example?
I actually can't. I'm drawing the blank.
Think he's guilty of the charges that he's accused of?
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, with the controversial topics he was talking about.
Probably guilty.
Guilty? Okay, what makes you say that?
Just based off the stuff he said.
Well, like
misogynistic stuff.
Tate's message of empowerment through masculinity really goes against the grain of what most people consider to be acceptable discourse in modern times. And this is where dynamics of silencing or attempting to silence figures like Andrew Tate come into play. Like I mentioned in that clip, when people can't control you, they will try to control the perception of you. Now, you guys may disagree with me, but I seem to think that the powers that be, the media, are using these clips of Andrew from over 10 years ago to really control the narrative and also sway the court of public opinion. And they're doing this by conflating unrelated events and behaviors from a decade ago with the current charges at hand in Romania. And of course, this is going to influence the presumption of guilt before a trial has even taken place and before anybody has even been able to objectively look at the evidence for themselves. This case surrounding Andrew Tate is a complex web of allegations that really demand a lot more scrutiny than what they're currently being given. In summary, the lack of admissible evidence against the Tate brothers is just absolutely astounding. Ultimately, guys, the central question that emerges here is whether or not we can conflate the canned business that he ran 10 years ago with the current legal proceedings. Putting it nicely, this is not something that I'm an advocate for. However, I think it's very important to be able to divorce emotion from logic. Just because I disagree with what he did in the past does not mean that I should be prevented from objectively analyzing the material facts of the case, the admissible evidence that is relevant to the accusations and now the charges at hand. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I appreciate it so much. If you agree, disagree, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, I'd like to remind you to do all the things, like the video, subscribe to my channel, ring that notification bell so you never miss a future episode, and check out my Patreon where I will be posting many of these interviews as well as a behind the scenes streaming session with Xena and Pixie. It was kind of outlandish but very entertaining, so definitely jump on there and check it out if you are so inclined, and I will see you guys on the next video. What is your opinion of Andrew Tate?
I definitely feel like he's right in certain aspects about how men are becoming more like
feminine. Little bitches.
I agree with everything that he says.
Not gonna lie, he's a good person. He'll give advice to anybody. He know a lot. He's smart. He's a good guy. I'm just gonna say that.
I like the message of do something with your life.
I think he speaks his mind. He goes against the establishment a lot. You know, when it comes to government bullshit, hypocrisy, I agree to more than 95% of the stuff he says.
So do you think the charges against him are bullshit?
Yes.
Why do you think there is a crusade against him right now?
Because he's against feminism, which is a very false financed topic.
Yeah, I mean, people are always quick to pull the trigger on any little thing. It could be, you know, something they see like on the tabloids and automatically believe it. You know, they want to research, they want to look into it.
You know, people need to do their research before they open their mouths and have a say on something if they haven't seen. The news likes to just portray a big thing and not leave out the rest of the information. But until you click that, you know, that specific news, you see, oh, maybe they should have said that on the whole headline first.
Makes you think who's really trying to put him away, because look at all the stuff he was saying about the establishment. So I do believe that a lot of things they're accusing him of is bullshit.